I saw an interesting argument about the squatting thing that's currently happening. Why is it only happening in suburban middle class neighborhoods? Why aren't people going to big mansions in New York City? Seriously, we talked about this on the show. We have this video from Clown World over on Twitter. A man prevents squatters from entering his private property. Yo, this video's nuts. This woman grabs some kind of weapon. The dude pulls out a taser. They're trying to break their way onto his property, threatening that they can come in. And this guy says no. But here's the question. Why aren't they doing it to these rich penthouses? $20 million penthouse. Take no difference. Why? It's weird, isn't it? It's almost like it's intentional. Like someone's advising these people and telling them where to go and protecting them when they do it. I wonder what would happen. Seriously. If let's talk about what we're seeing right now. We're hearing more and more of these stories. We had this national review, what's causing the squatting surge? Who was up for a round of armchair sociology? They say after months, in some cases, of the new normal, however warranted the changes may have been for a limited time, returning to old habits would be a challenge. They say, say the world is struck by a calamity, unprecedented in the modern age, and in response, good citizens are instructed to work from home, if possible, and keep their children home from school. College grads are allowed to pause student loans. Landlords are told not to evict tenants. That's the new normal. They say it's just one theory. Whatever the reason, squatting does appear to be gaining newfound popularity in cities across the country, afflicting property owners who too often discover that tossing unlawful occupiers is counterintuitively complicated. The National Rental Home Council, a trade group representing the single-family home rental industry, told NR members have reported a sizable increase, especially in certain markets. Here's what I think. You will own nothing and you will be happy. You want to be a mid-sized landlord? Too bad. I once rented an apartment. It was an old couple that had put all their retirement in a house and were hoping that they could live for the rest of their days off of the rental income coming from the young person who was renting the upstairs. The problem is the guy was kind of a dick. And I remember him having problems with like my air conditioning unit and stuff like that. And like, dude, I never did anything. And then I had a roommate move in and the roommate got into it. I told the landlord, hey, in order to save money on rent, it's a 2-bedroom. I'd like to bring a roommate in. And they said, sure, that sounds great. And I was like, it should be better for everybody. It'll be cheaper for me. However, I would like to be solely responsible for the rent. And they said, no. And I said, well, okay, if that's what you want to do. They said, we want to check from each of you for half the rent. And I said, I would rather just you tell me I'm responsible for the rent, the full, and let me deal with the person up, like who's living. No. I said, okay. That person ended up getting into a rental dispute with the landlord over something that they had done and then did not deliver the check. And then the landlord comes to me and goes, you got to give me that money. And I said, no, I don't. And this is exactly why I said I should be responsible for it. But you got into a conflict that I could not mediate because of what you set up. And so they ended up losing out on the money. There are a lot of people who bet their retirement on this. Well, those people are now having their lives destroyed. The middle class people who inherit homes from their parents are now having their inheritance stripped from them. Penthouses, totally fine. The haves and have-nots, the extreme circumstances continue. Squatters are targeting middle class homeowners, not even banks. Why? Honestly, don't know. That's why I don't think it's as simple as to say what the National Review does, that it's because we for years created this thing where you couldn't evict people and rent was paid for and now nobody wants to leave. No, that's not explaining why people are cutting holes in fences and climbing onto people's property or anything like that. The issue I see is that there is something, probably NGOs, who knows, that are giving general instruction and pushing this movement. Well, dare I say, for the haves may experience the same as the have-nots. Let's entertain a scenario. Middle-class homeowner inherits a house from their parents when they die. This is what we saw in Queens. They try to sell the house. Squatters took it over. They can't sell. They can't change the locks. They're locked. They can't do anything. What do? Someone has just seized your property. You can't do anything about it. How? Well, in many of these circumstances, these squatters will, it's really crazy. They find a target. They call a landscaping company and say, can you mow the lawn? Sure. A month later, they come back kick the door in, or lockpick, change the locks out. Now they live there. When the homeowner shows up 10 minutes later, I'm saying this person's not even lived there for 10 minutes, and calls the police. I got a person in my house. The cops show up, and the guy goes, I live here. And the cop says, can you prove it? Yes, I have a bill from a month ago when I paid for landscaping. I've been here for a long time. Cops say, have a nice day. Now that's crazy, isn't it? That's not necessarily what happened in Queens, but it's basically what happened. When the lady called the cops said, can you prove you've been here? And the guy said, here's a bill of something. And said, good enough for us. We're out. But how come it's not affecting mansions? How come no one's going to the wealthiest areas? It's weird, isn't it? It's almost like they're targeting people who are inheriting properties, trying to start businesses, and don't have the ability to fight back. I wonder, what if someone got a cell phone? They went to maybe you need an ID for this. I don't know if you can actually do this with a cell phone, but it's not hard to get mail sent to a place. What if someone just orders an Amazon package and they get something small that can be sent in just a bag, put in a mailbox, and they order something like, I don't know, so how about some dice, a nice little set of playing cards. When the UPS guy shows up, they're standing right there at the front of the house, front of the building, big penthouse building. And he goes, hey, you got anything for Jim Smith over in Unit A1? And he goes, Jim Smith, A1, that's you. He goes, yep, got my ID right here. Oh, Jim Smith, that's who you are. Here's your package. Thanks, buddy. Now he's got a piece of mail with his name on it and a date. Then comes back a month later, walks in the front and says, I'm having trouble getting into my penthouse. He knows it's listed on sale on Zillow, and they go, sir, what? He's like, yeah, the penthouse, I live there. And they'll be like, no, sir, what's your name? Jim Smith? And they'll be like, I don't believe you live. He's like, okay, well, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to call the police, and I'm going to tell them that you've illegally evicted me. Cops show up, and they say, can you prove you live? And he's like, I got some packages here. This is from a month ago when I ordered this. Here's a delivery slip. They're just trying to bar me. Cops go, civil matter. Open the door now. We're not getting involved. What are they going to do about it? Why is it not affecting the penthouses? What's the end result of this? You will own nothing and you will be happy. You will live in the pod and you will eat the bugs. I'm not saying it's on purpose, but it is a little weird that the squatting stuff is not targeting major New York City penthouses. It's weird. It's not targeting all of these mansions in New York. Let's play a game, baby. Let's play a game. I think the law should be changed. I think people shouldn't be allowed to do this. But let's just do this. I'm going to pull up here our good friend over on Zillow. And we have here the Hamptons. Here's an $80 million property. $80 million. Why did someone choose to squat in a rinky-dink little 4-bedroom in Queens? Granted, it was still a $900,000 property. When you got a beautiful $80 million vacant building right here. Same laws, New York State, right? Now, okay, fine. New York State, New York City laws may be very different. The reason they may not be going to the Hamptons is because Hamptons may have very different laws. But I can hop on over and scuttle all the way back to New York City, and I can tell you this, my friends. Let's how do you remove the boundary here? There we go. Take a look at this. Let's even just pop right up over here. Let's look at home type. And let's deselect all and do houses only. Houses only. Here's a $6 million house for sale. How come we ain't hearing no story about this bad boy right here? This is Bronx, New York. This is New York City under the same laws as Queens. And these guys are like, I'm going to choose this $900,000 little 4-bedroom when I got a $6 million property secluded facing the water. I don't get it. Honestly, I don't get it. The divide between the haves and have. Look at this. He's even got skateboards and a guitar in this room. Genuinely don't understand. Is it because we haven't gotten to that point? Maybe this is a new phenomenon. Honestly, I have no idea. What other $2.6 million house? The thing about these expensive houses, they're secluded. You're not going to have neighbors calling the cops or ratting you out or anything like that. Again, nobody should be doing this. The cops should be arresting these people at them instantly. But for some reason, if you're in Queens, they hit you. If you're middle class, they hit you. If you're rich, maybe the reality is this. Maybe it's because the rich don't play games. Maybe it's because when you're rich, somebody comes into your house, you just say, you walk up to your house, the locks are changed, and a guy answers, says, can I help you? And you go, yeah, it's my house. And he says, what do you mean? I live here. And the rich guy goes, I'm going to say it one more time. This is my house. And then just looks at him in the eyes. You see, the poor people are like, I'm going to call the police. And they're like, yes, thank you, good. What happens when that rich guy shows up with the dude with a suit who's legally allowed to carry a gun, security company, and the guy just says, I think you are mistaken, sir. You do not live in this house. And I think what might happen to you, well, unfortunate accidents could occur in a property that's not properly maintained, if you know what I'm saying. We don't need to involve the cops in this one. I feel like the people who make money and know how to make money aren't going to play these silly games. They're not going to call their lawyer. They're not going to call the police. Please, officer, help me. That's a mistake middle-class people make. AOC says, abolish the police, and she's got armed guards walking next to her, right? That's the game. You squat in a rich person's house, you wake up and your kneecaps are busted up. But these poor people who don't know what's going on, they think the cops are going to protect them. The squatting stuff's got to stop. But the end result is this. There'll be haves and there have-nots. And the haves are getting more haves, and the have-nots are getting it off worse. It's going to get bad. I don't know. You tell me. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.